I should have never opened that door. It was supposed to be a normal day, but the moment I stepped inside, everything changed. A single, forgotten letter sent me spiraling into a world I wasn't ready for. The secrets, the lies, the betrayal, I couldn't turn back. The walls started closing in. And just when I thought I was free, they found me. They always find you, but the truth? It's worse than I ever imagined. What I uncovered wasn't just a secret, it was a curse. And now, it's too late to escape. You won't believe what happens next. The discovery. I never expected my life to change with a single letter. It came with the usual post, sealed in a weathered envelope, the kind you'd expect from the past. But this wasn't any ordinary letter. Inside, there was a map, an ancient one, marked with strange symbols I had never seen before. I thought it was a prank at first. I even laughed a little, but something gnawed at me. This wasn't a joke. The map wasn't old, it was ancient. So, I packed my bags and followed the route. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to uncover something big. Something forgotten. I arrived at the ruins at dawn. The place looked abandoned, just like every other old site in the world, overrun by weeds. But when I stepped onto the ground, I felt it. The earth beneath my feet hummed. It wasn't the wind, it was something else. That's when I saw it. The revelation. The stone door creaked open, just as the map had promised. Inside, the walls were covered in faded carvings, ancient writings I couldn't understand. I reached for my flashlight, the only light in the pitch-black room. As it flickered to life, I saw something that made my heart race. A massive chest, chained and locked with symbols that matched the ones on the map. I tried to ignore the dread creeping up my spine. What if I shouldn't open it? But the urge was too strong. I felt like the world would collapse if I didn't. I pried open the lock, and when the lid lifted, I saw what was inside. A book. Thick, bound in leather that was still intact despite the centuries that had passed. I could feel the weight of it, heavy with history, with secrets long forgotten. But what could it hold? The pages were brittle, yellow with age. I turned them slowly, careful not to tear them. There was a word on the first page. A name, I thought. But it wasn't just any name, it was my own. And next to it, a date. My birthday. The past that wouldn't stay dead. The air in the room felt colder as I read the words aloud. And then, it happened. The walls began to rumble, the ground shaking beneath me. I could hear whispers, soft, almost imperceptible, but growing louder. I wasn't alone anymore. Something in the room shifted. The chest, once still, began to glow faintly from within. I stepped back, heart pounding in my chest. I wanted to run, to forget what I had just found, but I couldn't. I had to know what this meant. Suddenly, the ground beneath me cracked open. A figure emerged, dressed in tattered, ancient robes. His eyes locked onto mine, and I froze. I felt an overwhelming sense of recognition, but I had never seen this man before in my life. "You found it," he said, his voice cold, but not unfriendly. The truth, hidden for centuries. The twist. I couldn't speak. My body was paralyzed. The figure stepped closer, and the whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind. He reached out and touched the book, and everything around me froze. "Do you know what this is?" he asked, his voice echoing off the stone walls. I shook my head, trying to steady myself. But before I could speak, he answered for me. "This is the beginning of the end." The moment he finished speaking, everything fell silent. The whispers were gone. The figure was gone. The chest was empty. I was alone. But the words, the warning, stayed with me. The end of what? What was hidden here that the world wasn't supposed to know? The unraveling. I couldn't leave. I felt a pull, a compulsion to stay and search for answers. And as I dug deeper into the ruins, I uncovered more. Hidden rooms, hidden messages, all leading to one thing, the secret that had been buried for centuries. The book wasn't just a record of the past, it was a blueprint for the future. A plan, designed by those who had gone before, and it all pointed to me. But why? What did I have to do with it? I didn't know how much time I had. I didn't know who was watching. But I knew one thing, the secret I'd uncovered wasn't meant to be found. And now that I knew it, I couldn't escape. The final question echoed in my mind, one I hadn't even dared ask until now. What happens when the world finds out? The chase. I couldn't go back to the world I once knew. The moment I left the ruins, I felt different, changed. Like the earth itself had left a mark on me, one that couldn't be erased. My phone rang the moment I stepped into my car, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, but my finger swiped across the screen before I could stop it. "Did you find it?" a deep voice asked, sending a chill down my spine. I didn't answer right away. My mind raced, trying to piece together what I had just heard. How did they know? Who was watching me? "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, my voice trembling. The voice chuckled, a cold, hollow sound. "You don't realize what you've unleashed, do you? There's no going back now. You'll soon see." I slammed the phone down, my breath quickening. The road ahead felt darker, like every turn I took was leading me deeper into something I couldn't control. And that's when I saw them, 2 black SUVs, their headlights blinding in the rearview mirror, gaining on me fast. The hidden enemy. I pushed the gas pedal to the floor, my heart racing as the SUVs followed close behind. The road was winding, dangerous, and I knew I had to lose them, or I'd never get another chance to uncover the truth. I tried to outrun them, but the vehicles were relentless. They knew the roads, every curve, every dip, while I was just a man with a map and a book. My only hope was to reach the old bridge just ahead. It was a shortcut to the mountains, a place where I could hide long enough to figure out my next move. But as I approached the bridge, I saw the headlights flare up in the rearview mirror again. They had already blocked me in. I slammed the brakes, the tires screeching as I turned off the road, into the forest. But the SUVs followed. I couldn't escape them. Not like this. The betrayal. I finally stopped, my hands gripping the steering wheel, eyes scanning the dark trees around me. There was no way out. And then, out of nowhere, a figure stepped into the beam of my headlights. It was the man from the ruins. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice breaking. He smiled. "You think you're the only one searching for the secret? Everyone wants a piece of it, including those who have been guarding it for centuries." The SUVs pulled up behind me, and 2 men stepped out, their expressions cold. "They weren't here to negotiate. They don't know what you found," the man said, his voice low. "But I do. And now, I have to decide if I should keep you alive, or let them have you." I took a step back, realizing what he meant. He wasn't helping me, he was playing a game, and I was nothing more than a pawn. And that's when the betrayal hit me. The man in front of me wasn't a savior. He was part of the game. And now, I was trapped between the very people who had hidden this secret for centuries. Part 9, The Final Decision. I had no choice. With nowhere left to run, I grabbed the book from the passenger seat and held it up in front of me. "This," I said, trying to steady my voice, "is the key to everything. If you want it, you'll have to take it from me." The man and the 2 others eyed me, calculating. The tension was thick, but they didn't move. They were waiting for me to make the next move. I could hear the faint sounds of their breathing, feel their eyes on me, but I knew the truth. There was no more hiding. The secret was mine now, and I had to make the most dangerous decision of my life. If I handed it over, the world would change in ways I couldn't predict. But if I kept it, I would be hunted for the rest of my life. I raised the book higher, knowing what I had to do. The hidden truth. I didn't say another word. I turned and ran toward the cliff's edge, the wind howling in my ears. The book felt heavier than ever as I neared the edge. I couldn't let them have it. Not after everything I had discovered. With one last look at the men chasing me, I threw the book into the abyss below. It disappeared into the darkness, swallowed by the earth, and the sound of its fall echoed in my ears. I could hear them shouting behind me, but I didn't stop. The secret was gone. The escape. The sound of the men chasing me grew fainter as I descended into the dense forest. My legs were burning, but I couldn't afford to slow down. I didn't know who I could trust anymore. Everyone I'd met had their own agenda. And now, I was on the run, deeper than ever in this strange game I never wanted to play. I stumbled over roots and rocks, my breath coming in sharp bursts. I could still hear the engines of the SUVs in the distance, but they were further away now. Maybe I had a chance to lose them. Then, I heard a voice. "Stop." I froze. It was the man from the ruins, the one who had warned me about the danger. He was just ahead of me, standing between the trees. He raised his hand, signaling me to approach, but I wasn't sure if he was here to help or to finish what he had started. "Do you think you can outrun them?" he asked, his voice calm but sharp. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was too tired, too confused, and I didn't know who to trust anymore. "Listen to me," he said, stepping closer. "This isn't just about you or the book. This is about a system that has controlled everything for centuries. A system you've only just scratched the surface of. If you want to survive, you have to play it their way. Or make a choice. There's no middle ground anymore." I looked at him, my mind spinning. He wasn't wrong, but that didn't mean I had to accept his plan. And what exactly am I supposed to do? Keep running? Keep hiding? He shook his head. No, you're done hiding. Now, you have to fight back. You have a choice to make. The choice. I didn't have much time to think. The SUVs were closing in again, and I had to decide what to do next. The man was right about one thing, I couldn't keep running. But that didn't mean I had to play their game. I had already lost too much, and if I didn't act now, I would lose everything. Fight back. I muttered. How? How do I even start? By exposing them, the man said, his eyes narrowing. Everything they've been hiding, everything they've manipulated, it all comes to light. The people behind this, those who've kept the power for themselves, they think they're untouchable. But they're not. I felt a surge of anger, a need for retribution that I couldn't ignore. You're right. I'm done being the pawn. He nodded, a slight smile playing at the edge of his lips. Then let's make sure you're the one calling the shots from here on out. The plan. We didn't have much time. The SUVs were getting closer, their engines roaring through the trees. I knew this was my chance to turn the tables, but I had to move fast. The man handed me a small device, a tracker, something I hadn't noticed before. This will help you get the information you need. It's all hidden in plain sight. You just have to connect the dots. I nodded, taking the device from him. But before I could say anything, he was already moving, blending back into the shadows of the forest. I watched him disappear and turned my attention back to the incoming vehicles. I had one shot. If I didn't move now, I was dead. I sprinted through the trees, using everything I had learned over the last few days. The tracker was my only lead. I needed to get to it before anyone else did. The revelation. I reached the clearing where the tracker was supposed to lead me. There was an abandoned cabin in the distance, covered in ivy. It didn't look like much, but something told me this was where the answers lay. Inside, I found what I was looking for: old documents, maps, records, everything that had been hidden from the public for years. It was all right there, laid out before me. The real truth. I flipped through the pages quickly, my heart racing. This wasn't just about the book anymore. It was about money, power, and corruption that stretched far beyond anything I had imagined. The people behind this didn't just want control of one city or one country, they wanted everything. But now I had the evidence, and with it, I could expose them. I heard the sound of footsteps behind me, and I knew they were closing in. But I was ready. The confrontation. The man had been right. I wasn't running anymore. The game had changed. The SUVs screeched to a halt outside the cabin, and the men rushed in. I could see the anger in their eyes, the desperation. They hadn't expected this. They thought they had everything under control. But now, I was the one in charge. Drop it, one of them shouted, pointing a gun at me. I didn't flinch. You drop it, I said, holding up the documents. I have everything. The truth. Your lies. They froze, realizing what I had. And for a moment, I saw fear in their eyes. But then, the man from the ruins appeared again, stepping out of the shadows. That's enough, he said, his voice low. You know what happens now. The men turned to face him, confusion written all over their faces. But they didn't argue. They knew the stakes had changed. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. It's over. You can't keep hiding anymore. The world will know the truth. And as I stood there, holding the power in my hands, I knew this was just the beginning.